Hi everybody, welcome to our webinar today, which is all about the SDG Action Manager. I'm Jess and I'm from the UN Global Compact Network UK. I'm going to pass on to Moramay and Laura, who will be leading today's webinar. Over to you.
Yes, hello. Welcome to everyone. This is Laura Palmeiro. I am Senior Advisor to the UN Global Compact, working on sustainability metrics. And so in charge of this project that has been co-developed with BLab, which is about the SDG Action Manager, and also leading another project which is about the revision on the communication on progress. I would like also to introduce Moramay. Moramay.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Moramay Navarro. I'm a manager for strategic development at the UN Global Compact. Also having worked with Laura on the development of this tool, and right now also supporting the review, as she said, of our annual reporting requirement for participants, the communication on progress. So I will give the floor to Laura so we can start the presentation.
Yes, okay, thank you very much, Moramay. So yes, I will go over a very brief presentation about the background and the why this tool exists. And we are going to go over a demo right after that. Moramay is going to do a live demo on the tool, and afterwards we will open for questions and answers. So regarding the background, what is the SDG Action Manager exactly? So as you know, the world is not on track to achieve the global goals. We have done some progress, but not fast enough. So today, no country is on track to achieve the goals that we have fixed for 2030. We know that the world is now headed towards 3.9 degrees centigrade temperature rise. And that is by the end of the century, and it is very far from the 1.5 degrees centigrade threshold that we need to achieve. In order to achieve this, we should be almost having the emissions by 2030. So we have done some surveys with CEOs, and we are realizing that in 2016, when we made these reviews, the 78% of the CEOs saw opportunities to contribute to the global goals through their core businesses. But 2 years later, only 48% of companies say that they are implementing sustainability into their own operations. Also, in 2016, half of the CEOs said that businesses would be the most important actor in the delivery of the global goals. But as of today, only 21% of CEOs feel that businesses are currently playing a critical role in contributing to these goals. So we decided to collaborate with BLab because we have a shared mission, which is to use business as a force for good. So what do we bring to the table? Well, first of all, the Global Compact has a global outreach. We have content expertise with our own experts within the Global Compact and the rest of the agencies of the UN. Then we have the 10 principles and the SDGs as part of our mission. So basically we have the mandate for those, and we are nested at the UN. So because we are a UN initiative. In the case of BLab, they have sustainability assessment and content expertise, where with their BIA, which is Business Impact Assessment. And they have a very powerful technical platform, the B Impact Assessment and B Analytics. So we introduced the SDG Action Manager, which is a web-based impact management solution that enables businesses to take action on the Sustainable Development Goals through 2030. The SDG Action Manager brings together the B-Labs B-Impact Assessment and the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, and also the Sustainable Development Goals to enable meaningful business action through dynamic self-assessment, benchmarking, and improvement. We will see the different functionalities in a minute. It was launched in January, and it is available in English, French, Italian, Portuguese, and in Spanish. So last slide about the features and functionalities that we're going to see in a moment. So first, this tool lets you find your starting points. So it is important, first of all, to see which are the different SDGs that are more material, that make more sense for your company to contribute on. And based on the work of the World Benchmarking Alliance, we have used a grid that they have published. They are our partners on many aspects with us. And we have used their grid where they combine the different industries that exist and the different SDGs. And they have made a table stating which are the most relevant and the most material SDGs per industry. So basically, this does not, I would say, replace a good materiality analysis, but at least it is a high-level proxy to that. And this is what is behind the functionality of this tool that Moramay is going to show, that when you enter the data, the basic data of your company regarding the number of employees, regarding the geography where you are present, and the industry you are in, you will get a set of the most material SDGs that you should be completing before anything else. So this helps guide companies to start to basically find a starting point. Then to understand and share your impact, you will get a clear view on how the different parts of the life cycle, if you wish, like operation, supply chain, and business model, create positive impact and identify also the risk areas for each of the SDGs for your operation. Then it has another functionality, which is to set goals and track improvements. So you will be able to pick and choose actions that you have not yet completed, but that you would like to achieve in the next few weeks, months, or a year. And you will see that there is a functionality for goal setting, and we will go over it, and you will see how to use it with alerts and everything. Then collaborate across your company. You can invite colleagues to join the SDG Action Manager so that they can contribute with their own expertise and see real-time progress and performance, and learn at every step. You can access for each of the questions that you will see. You have an icon that you can click on, and you will be immediately directed to all the resources that are available on that specific topic in our smart library of the UN Global Compact. So these are the functionalities. I think that now we can go to the demo.
Okay, great. So what I will do is I'll log out and show you exactly where you can access the tool very easily. Which the best way and quick way is through the UN Global Compact. There's a special homepage here for the SDG Action Manager, which can take you directly to access the tool. So here you'll be prompted to start filling out all your information, your company information. I'll not fill this out because it takes a little while, but it's very important step because it'll ask you exactly what sector your company is in, what type of company in terms of size, and that will help the tool sort of tailor the suggested content based on your company profile. So I will just sign in here. Additionally, you'll be prompted to ask to share data with the Global Compact once you fill out your company profile. So I think sharing is just a way to enable us to also access data that will be then shared with you. So that's a very important step. So because I've already filled out that company profile to give the demo, I'll just sign back to the company profile that we had created. And you land in the dashboard. So you'll see exactly where you are with your score with the introductory module, which is the baseline module. And you'll also get an overview of the goals that you currently have set. But the main homepage is this one. Here on the left, you click on the SDG Action Manager, and as Laura had mentioned, you'll be able to find your starting point here with the recommended modules of SDGs, which, as mentioned, were tailored based on your company profile, your sector, and your company size. The most important thing to note is that all companies have to fill out the first introductory module, which is the baseline. And this module is based on the 10 principles of the Global Compact and contains a lot of fundamentals in terms of human rights, labor practices, environmental management, and good governance. So this is why all companies should start here, and then that way they'll be able to actually unlock filling out all other SDGs. Because I've already filled this out, here it says continue, but you'll see a lock here if you haven't filled out the baseline module. So let's start and take a look at the baseline module. So as mentioned, it's based on the 10 principles. It's the very first starting point for all companies and contains a number of questions around the 4 areas of the 10 principles. Now we can take a look at a sample question. And I'll show you a little bit more of the functionalities of the tool. As Laura mentioned, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about the actual question that you're being asked. If, for example, you have any doubts or would like a little bit more information, you can click here on the button Learn, and you'll get a little bit more explanation on the question, but also by clicking on Implementation, you'll be able to access a lot of different tools related to that question, which are actually part of the UN Global Compact Smart Library, and they're open access. So you'll be able to get a little bit more information if you have additional questions. You'll also be able to make comments on that particular question and bookmark to go back to it if there's anything that you'd like to, work more on for that particular question. It also shows you where that question can also be found in all of the other SDG modules, and this is particularly pointing out to all the interlinkages that are within the SDGs. So as you start filling out questions, precisely because of these interlinkages, you'll also be filling out questions in other modules. Then another key functionality that was mentioned is the fact that you can actually set goals and be able to track your progress on those goals. And the way you track your goals on things that you'd like to improve or better work on or need to work on is by clicking a star. So let's click here on the star, and you can set that particular topic related to that question as a goal. The tool will show you exactly which answers you had already provided, and then it'll allow you to then choose how else you'd like to improve in that particular question. So you can set your goal, add notes on that particular goal, and set a deadline for fulfilling out that goal, and receive email reminders as well. You can then click save. You'll notice here your due date, and you can click save here. That way you have set a goal on that particular topic. If I go back to the SDG Action Manager homepage, where you see the actual recommended SDGs, as mentioned, this is a set of modules that have been tailored based on your company profile, sector, size, but it doesn't preclude you from also filling out other SDGs if you feel like you know, you've done a more thorough materiality analysis, and you think that all you know, all these other SDGs can also be filled. So you also have the option of filling out the 16 SDGs. One thing to note is that the SDG Action Manager does not have SDG 17 because it's actually embedded in all other SDGs, mostly as collective action type of questions. So if we go now into looking further on how to understand and share that impact, let's go into the SDG 1 module, so you'll get a closer look. The way that the modules are organized for SDGs are, as Laura mentioned, based on subsections that pertain to your business model, your internal operations, questions on your supply chain, and as I had mentioned, collective action, just to portray particularly SDG 17 on partnerships and other ways of acting together. And also importantly, there's a risk level that will be measured here. The way the risk level is measured is actually trying to figure out if there's a gap in your performance. So that's the way the SDG modules are organized, and questions are basically the same format. You'll see also that there is a score for each of the questions, and an overall score for each of the subsections. So as you answer, you'll be getting a number of points based on those answers, and these answers are more type of ambitious practices and learning practices to take into account for that particular topic in the question. In addition, in order to be able to see your score and how you're performing on the different modules, you can click on the left here on reports and click on SDG Performance, and you'll see you'll be able to see your percentage. You'll see that there's not an overall score. It actually gives a score for each of the modules, because the idea is for you to understand how you're performing on that particular area rather than getting an overall score. And you'll see that you'll be able to know exactly how you've been performing in each of those subsections. Let's see here. In addition, you'll be able to see how your risk level is for each of the SDGs. There's a flag system, and so you'll be able to know if you have you're close to a high risk because you have a gap in performance, for example, on that particular SDG. As I mentioned, if you wanted to work more in a particular area or question, you could have bookmarked. And so if you click here on the bookmark report, it'll show you exactly the questions that you had bookmarked. And if you click on goals, let's wait. If you click on goals, you'll be able to see the list of all the goals that you've set while you've been performing the self-assessment. You'll get a notification that one's past due. And then the tool will also be able to suggest a few areas where you know, based on the information you've provided, your company profile, it's likely that you would want to set a goal to work on for these particular issues. It'll also show you which ones you have completed. Lastly, another important functionality is that we mentioned that you're able to collaborate across your company. So the way that you do that is clicking on settings. Will show you a tab here called Team Members. And you'll be able to add particular members that you think are very relevant in helping to fill out the self-assessment. You fill out the information and you're able to email them with the invitation to be part of the self-assessment. So you'll get a list here of the people that you want in your team to be able to support and collaborate with the self-assessment. So I think with that, we've done a quick overview of the main functionalities of the tool. Based on what we said and based on the number of users in the tool, a benchmarking functionality will also be kicking in. So as you know, we launched in January, and with the COVID crisis also, people have started to use, but as soon as a relevant number of users have kicked in and there's enough data, the benchmark functionality will also be kicking in. So I think, Laura, with that, we can maybe open for questions.
Perfect. Let's go.
And maybe, Jess, you can help us moderate, or if there are already any questions on the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's one question there from Bruno who says, are these questions the same as the B Corp assessment?
No. There are around, I would say, 40% of the questions that that coincide with questions that already existed in the BIA, but the rest, because of the different agenda, which is to match, well, to assess the SDGs. There has been an enormous work of consultation for each of the questions, each of the SDGs, each of the targets within the SDGs, with different stakeholders, namely the UN agencies and everyone, rating agencies, WBA, IMP, Impact Management Project, GRI, SASB, I mean, with lots of people to see how we could come up with questions that assess specifically on the 10 principles and the SDGs. So, so only around, I would say, 40% of the questions are identical as the ones that come from the BIA.
Okay, any other question?
Yep, I can see there's some more in the chat. So there's a question from Sarah who said, can the questions be exported? She found it difficult to complete as it requires more than one person's input and wasn't able to send the questions to them without copying and pasting it from the platform. So I know you said a little bit about team members, but maybe you could.
Yes, so there's a question filter here option on the left, and you can choose download, and then you'll be able to get the information as you're seeing on the screen.
And apart from that, I don't know exactly if that was the sense of the question, but apart from that, there is this functionality to invite other people to be completing the questions that you already started, the same questionnaire. So if you are a, I would say, as I used to be in my past life, the generalist or the sustainability manager, but you have people that are experts on water, on climate change, on human rights. You can give them access, and they would be completing the specific questions that relate to their activities.
Brilliant, thanks. And we've got a question from Sasha who said, is it possible to edit detailed company setup both for B Corp and SDG? Sasha, maybe you want to unmute yourself and just kind of elaborate on what you're asking there.
Yeah, so you can see the company, once the company is set up, so the first part which was skipped during this demo, you have to answer a lot of questions. And as I was setting up, I thought, okay, well, I can always change this if I don't get it right this time. But when I go into the company profile and the settings, I can't see that I can, for example, I can't change the activity of the company. I can't see the type of the activity of the company anywhere, or be able to change it. So I can see the size, I can see the company workforce, corporate structure, address, and so on, but I can't change the activity of the company.
Okay, that is a really technical question. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know if Moramay, you have seen this before.
No, but it's a question that we will take to our colleagues at B Lab, who manage the technical aspect of it. But yeah, and we can get back to you on that one, because as you mentioned, yes, there's on the settings, the company profile, you can edit a couple of things, but not necessarily the sector or others. So we'll get back to you for sure on that one.
Do you need my contact details, or are you okay with the?
Yeah, that would be great if you want to leave your details. But we can also connect with Jess as well.
Okay, I'll send you the on the private. Thank you.
Yes, on private. Thank you.
Yep, the next question we've got is from Joanne, who said, how long will it roughly take to complete the full assessment? Do you have an estimate of time?
No, in fact, I have no idea how long it would take. I think that in my previous experience in a corporate position, I would say that it all depends on how mature your company already is. You will come up with questions that are your everyday life and you know the answer very easily. And you will come up with questions that you have never asked yourself before. So you will have to ask colleagues and investigate, and even for some of them, in order to answer some of them, you would have to collect data that is not immediate. So it all depends on how mature a company is. You will see that there are 470 questions in the tool, and this is just because we didn't limit ourselves so much in the number of questions, because this tool, and I cannot emphasize this enough because there are always misunderstandings, this tool is not a reporting tool. So no one is asking you to complete anything. It is a tool that you can use for your own advantage, for your own information, as a self-assessment within your company, and no one else is going to see your data identified with your company. It is just for you. So no one imagines even that a company will sit down and complete the whole thing, because you might be more interested in some SDGs, for instance, if you have a practical application of the tool. For instance, you are starting to want to work on whatever, SDG 5, let's say, we have it on the screen, gender equality, and your manager asked you to start putting up a plan or something about that, and you have no idea where to start. So you just go into the tool and you start answering the different questions, and by seeing the different options that are given as an answer, and then maybe even going further and clicking and accessing the resources of the smart library of the Global Compact regarding those specific topics, you can start not only measuring the baseline where you stand today, but also imagining what are the next steps for the immediate future. So that is and by doing that, you don't need to spend time on water, on health, on anything else, because you want to work on that specific topic. So I'm not meaning that people are going to just go into the tool and pick and choose one of the SDGs. I'm just giving an example. But I'm just saying this because the time is very variable, and it depends entirely on what you want to use the tool for. That is why we never made an assessment on how long would it take to answer the almost 500 questions that exist there.
Yeah, and one additional thing to highlight is the fact that, as we mentioned, there are so many interlinkages that when you start filling out questions in one module, you'll see that you will be pre-filling questions in other modules. So that also shortens a little bit the work.
Thank you. And I think you might have just touched on the next question, which is from Katerina, who said, can this tool be used to support companies in reporting on the SDGs? And if so, can you explain how?
Well, yes. It's a very good question. It can help report on the SDGs in the sense that if you go to a specific SDG and you see which are the questions there, and you start putting in place actions so that you can answer favorably to some of those questions, you might want to take those informations and actions and showcase them in your sustainability report or your integrated report or annual report or however your company is reporting. So I think that is the use in terms of reporting. As you can see, this tool is more about guiding your actions. That is why it's called Action Manager. It is more about guiding your actions. But of course, once you are inspired and to achieve something and you finally achieve it, why not use that to showcase it, as I say, in your reporting, of course.
Yeah, and additionally, I think that the tool will also help build some sort of foundational understanding of how you are in the SDGs that will then help you move forward towards, more strategically being able to identify more concrete actions, strategies that can be actually better aligned with your core strategies. And then with that, you would be able to then, improve your management on the SDGs and being able to then communicate, as Laura said, and report on that. So it does help build a foundational understanding of how you are performing.
Great, thank you. Next question in the chat is, how are the disability targets captured in the toolbox?
I didn't understand. How are the sustainability targets?
Sorry, how are the disability targets captured in the toolbox?
Disability.
Yeah, that's right, disability.
Okay. Good question. Moramay, do you answer to that?
No, I think we would have to check more in terms of content and which SDGs are capturing that particular aspect.
Because I'm not even sure. I have had some conversations before regarding that disability aspects, and I think that I don't know who asked the question, but I'm pretty sure that they're asking them from perspective of knowing what is contained already in the SDGs and what is not. And there is some, I would say, discrepancies in opinions of people, because it is not really well captured. At least that is what I understand. That is not really well captured within the agenda of the SDGs. We have to understand that the SDGs, even if they look, I would say, super complete, in fact, it is an agenda. It is an agenda like any other, and it has been negotiated by the member states of the United Nations and voted by unanimity. But it is an agenda that has been agreed as being the most important topics that needed to be solved by 2030. And by no means would I say that it represents you know, a complete agenda on all the topics that need to be covered in sustainability. So it's not a 360 degrees assessment on sustainability. It is just the agenda of the UN. So it is very representative, but there are certainly some specific topics that have not been completely addressed. And I think that disability is one of them.
Thanks. Let's have a look what else we've got in the chat box. A question from Rachel, who said, when setting a profile, the question on company location is limited. Is there a global default?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is another issue, which it's an issue, yes and no. In fact, I used to be Sustainability Integration Director for Danone, right before coming to this job. If I had to recommend to a company to do this assessment, I would recommend them to do it for each of their affiliates, because the issues, the different topics are much more relevant or less relevant depending on where the operations are happening. And if I will give a very simple example, but if you're in Brazil, for instance, not only we need to take into account if the your industry, if for your industry the forests and deforestation is an issue as a material issue, but also we need to take into account the place where you are. And Brazil is very much concerned also in terms of the society awareness of the topic is super. Deforestation is a super material topic for them. So materiality is a combination between the geography where you are operating and your own activity. So I'm sorry I gave a long answer to a short question, but I think that in the case of Danone, for instance, if they have to apply it today, and which is the case, they will have to apply it country by country, operation by operation. There is no way you can do it on a global basis.
Brilliant, thanks. Next question is from Guido, who says, is the tool designed especially for companies, or is it eventually possible to use it also for cities and to see how local municipalities are implementing the SDGs?
That's a good one. So in fact, well, it could be the way that the questions, and if Moramay, if you could go to one of the SDGs and show the structure of it, which is business model, internal operations, supply chain, then collective action, and the risk level, assessment of risk level. Thank you, Moramay. I'm not sure. This is thought for private companies, but for a company, not necessarily a private company, but for companies. I'm not sure whether this would be applicable to municipalities. If they do have this, you know, internal operations, for sure they will have, supply chain for sure as well, but the rest of the components, I'm not really sure whether it will apply to them. This is the translation of the SDGs that were, as you all know, written for countries, to apply at the level of countries, and this is kind of the translation for companies on how a company can contribute to the achievement of this for each country. But maybe there is something to be built specifically for municipalities and in between.
Brilliant, thanks. Let's have a look at the next question. Is from Jamie, who says, how far have local government been involved, and are any pioneers using the tool?
So local governments, we have there have been consulted during the consultation process. We have a government group within the Global Compact that supports the Global Compact, and but we have not consulted, I think, at level of municipalities and so on. If by local governments you are referring to national governments, then yes, some of them have been consulted. And there was another question, sorry, I forgot that one. Who are the pioneers? Yes, well, there are a lot of people that have been using it so far. The thing is that because you know, there is no disclosure about the content of the question, so that is why there is no kind of I would say examples that we can specifically cite. You go into the tool and everything is I would say is private. So so we have had a lot of people now using it. We have like in excess of 3,000 accounts created. Sorry, created, and but we cannot we cannot give like examples of companies that have applied it and how they applied it and so on, so far at least.
And we've got just another question from Jamie there, who said, how are the cross-cutting issues between the goals considered or visualized or represented?
Okay, so maybe I can help that with that one and also show on the screen. So as we had mentioned, as you start filling out questions in one module, you'll then start seeing other questions that are filled out precisely because of those interlinkages. So it means that questions around no poverty are also fundamental and will be showcased also in the baseline. Additionally, when going into a module and then seeing a particular question, you'll see that the question will also show you and say, you know, this particular question can also be found in SDG Action Manager, SDG 2, Zero Hunger. And then if it is a question that happens to be also a question in the BIA, in the B Impact, it's a question found in the BIA. In addition, there's a section also called Other at the very end of the module, and it's questions that are also possibly contributing to that particular SDG in other modules. So you'll be able to click and go directly into that module that the question is interlinked to. so that's the visualization of the interlinkages.
Brilliant, thanks. And looks like it might be our last question, unless there's any more in the chat. A question from somebody who's running a pilot campaign to bring the SDGs to life across their local council, local organisations and citizens. The question is, they're wondering how to use this tool in their call to action for those already working on the SDGs, and if there are any additional benefits to this campaign.
I think that the benefits from this, apart of, you know, that I understand that it is, your question is directed to people that are already working on the SDGs. And if it is the case, I think that it could act as, I would say, like a checklist of topics, because we have covered from the most basic ones, the most basic actions regarding the SDGs, towards the most aspirational ones. And we give all the different options. If you go to each of the questions, you will see that you have many different options at different levels of answering each of them. So I think that it is a very complete and thorough, I would say, guide or checklist for people even that are already working and have already been working for quite some time, in order to get more ideas on how to improve on some of the SDGs. That would be my understanding of it.
That's great, thanks. And we've just had another question come in, who said that although the tool is for companies and the information isn't going to be shared publicly, are there any plans for a users group to be set up, or some kind of networking or knowledge exchange between all the members or kind of account holders who've signed up?
That's very interesting. No, as far as I know, we have no plans for that. We have never discussed this with B-Lab, but it looks like an interesting proposal. So we can take note of that and share it with B-Lab to see if it's something that we would like to have. Then maybe I don't know, Moramay, if we could share just very briefly what we are doing at the Global Compact with the SDG Ambition project. Maybe that would help answer that specific angle.
Yeah, I think that's a relevant initiative. As you know, I think this was launched in Davos this year, and it's basically a program that intends to help participating companies in the compact to set more ambitious goals and actions towards the SDGs. And so the idea is that through the use of the tools like the SDG Action Manager, companies would be able to have a clearer understanding of where they are and build a baseline understanding of where they are with the SDGs, and with that being able to set clear priorities, clear strategies that can then be embedded within their core strategies and core business, and with that being able to set good, specific, ambitious, innovative goals towards the SDGs that can then be translated into concrete activities. And this is also where our communication and progress will come in, because the idea is that once you've implemented all these particular actions and set your goals, you will then able to measure and communicate through the communication on progress. So the SDG Ambition Global Impact Initiative intends of working with local networks throughout this type of kind of journey to further, understanding, but also setting clear goals and measures that are aligned with your core core business to improve on the SDGs. So that's something that we are working on at the moment, from headquarters in collaboration also with other partners and local networks. And I'm sure we'll be working with the local network UK. So I think your question is relevant in that context.
Brilliant, thanks. And we've probably got time for one more question before we wrap up. So just seeing if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question if it's not already been answered. Nope. Well,
Okay.
then I think I think that might be all the questions.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us as well. If you think of any additional things that you have questions on. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much, Laura and Moramay. I'm just going to take 5 minutes just to tell you about some of the kind of other events going on. So I will just share my screen. And hope that that's going to work. There we go. So I'm sure Claire will let me know if you're not able to see the screens at the moment. But I know there's a few people on our call who aren't members of the United Nations Global Compact. So perhaps for some of you who aren't aware of who we are, we're the UN Global Compact, which is a UN-supported corporate sustainability initiative. We have over 10,000 companies all over the world who have made the commitment to our 10 principles to support sustainability, along with another 3,500 or more non-businesses of all types, so whether that's NGOs or kind of trade unions, universities, that kind of thing. The very essence of the Global Compact are 10 universal principles derived from UN treaties in the areas of human rights, labour, environment and anti-corruption. This foundation provides a rock-solid basis for any corporate sustainability programme or supplier code of conduct. So they're really truly universal principles. These treaties are kind of ratified by every country around the world. So to join the UN Global Compact, and if you're not already in an organisation which is a member, I really would urge you to have a look into it. Your CEO would just need to do 3 things. So first would be to operationalise the 10 principles. Second would be to report annually on progress, and the third would be to kind of support the wider UN Development Agency agenda. Our role as an initiative is really to support you in fulfilling those commitments. And I'm from the local network UK, and we're kind of the main focal point for all of the members from the UN Global Compact that are based in the UK. And as you can see on the screen, we have a huge number of different activities, including events, working groups, practical guidance, and some programs. So I thought I'd just take a few minutes to tell you a little bit more about what else is coming up. So we have our Making Global Goals Local Business Roadshow. Usually we would be traveling around all of the different cities, but we're going virtual now, and I'm hoping to still travel around a few different cities. So as you can see, there's Northern Ireland, Scotland, London that we're visiting, and possibly we'll be adding some more. The aim of the events really is to help participants at whatever kind of stage you are in your journey with engaging with the SDGs, is to explore the goals a little bit more, use some of our tools that we've got available, and kind of meet other professionals in the area. We're going to be doing 2 of our webinars which are going to be around specific SDGs. So this week coming up we've got Goal 8, and as you can see at the beginning of June we've got Goal 12. Some of our other upcoming events tomorrow, we've got a fantastic webinar all around SDGs and innovation, and that's going to be featuring Mark McDonald. We've got a number of different events all around setting science-based targets. And for our members, we're going to be doing a virtual leaders summit 15th and 16th of June, which is going to be a fantastic opportunity to engage with our members all across the world in kind of a 24-hour Chasing the Sun program. So there's just a few of our upcoming events, and all of them are there on our website, and you can see the webpage at the bottom of the screen. And we do also have a number of programs that we're running. All of our programs are open to our members. So if you're not a member, as I said, do check out the information online. I've just written up a few of our programs there. So Young SDG Innovators program, which is a 10-month program, really designed at young professionals and equipping them with the skills to develop innovative solutions for the SDGs. We've got our Target Gender Equality program, which is a Gender Equality Accelerator program, and helping you to kind of reach ambitious corporate targets for women's representation and leadership. And finally, we've got our SDG Ambition, which is going to be coming soon. Moramay and Laura mentioned it a little bit earlier on, but more information will be available about that on the website in due course. And that's all from me. So I just wanted to thank Laura and Moramay for a fantastic presentation. We will be showing around the recording. If you've got any more questions, do feel free to email us and we can pass those on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hope you have a good day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.